Hello, chaps. It's turn 88, and I just had a heart attack. I loaded back into this turn for the second time, not to play, just to record this video. And I see this, and I think, well, it's just a scouting galley, so it doesn't matter. And then I realise it's a super death. It's a super death galley. So that's why I panic, two-pop whipped an axeman in my capital, which is a wonderful thing that we all want to do on turn 88. We love two-pop whipping axemen. Yes, and if he has one chariot, the axeman has a 35% chance of being defeated. If he has two chariots, then he can just take my capital, and I will actually praise him because he's such a total giga-chad. These noises are too loud. Are they too loud for you? They're too loud for me. And I should probably just turn them all the way down when my voice is so important for these videos. Anyway, the reason I'm finally making another video is because there's a bunch of drama that has to be described for the purposes of posterity. So I founded this town after Commodore here founded this town. So Doppelbock has a +1 food from the sugar and a +1 from the farm, which is a farm, so it's not very nice, and it's got the clam. But I founded this town, which gets me a clam and a coastal lake, which is rather nice. And if I founded over here to nab the fish as well, then that would have pissed off the Romans. And it's a border area, so I kind of like the idea of maybe having even 3 towns with another town on this place, just to be very defensive. But I've now decided against settling anything beyond this location because it'll piss off Gavagai. So anyway, I need to tell you what happened with Commodore. We just signed peace this turn. About 5 turns ago, I have a bunch of axemen in this area, but unfortunately they're pointlessly scouting around. So they're not in place to actually defend when Commodore lands a chariot onto this forest, capturing a worker, but not deleting it, and moving a chariot and a worker onto this hill. And that was actually the entirety of his military forces committed to the skirmish. He moved this chariot up later, and the galley didn't make a reappearance. So I believe that it was also busy fighting the Romans, with whom he is still at war. And by the way, even as this skirmish over here went along, which I will finally get around to describing any moment, I think what has happened here is that the Romans founded a town and it got razed, and then Commodore founded a town and it got razed. So they're really going at it. They really want the fish and the gold. Anyhow, so Commodore just did a little opportunistic raiding, and I really appreciate the fact that he didn't delete the worker. So I don't consider myself hostile to Commodore, and in any case, look at this. A thin strip of not very valuable land with no hills, so whoever moves onto this first just gives the defender so much time to look at them, to decide whether to attack. So I think I'm not going to go in here, and he probably isn't expecting me to go in here, so hopefully we can de-escalate along here, especially once he sees me resettle this town. This town next turn. I've got a settler right here, 3 hexes away, and then I'm immediately going to chop a whole bunch of forests into walls with the stone discount from this quarry that's about to be built. So, oh yeah, I need to tell you what happened. So he takes a worker with the chariot. He doesn't delete the worker. I actually do have an axeman here, and I kill the chariot with it. And that, I believe, is when he gets a bit excited. He moves a scout onto this hill, and by the way, he's moving after me in the turn order, and he sees nothing, nada. Actually, I think he sees a warrior here. So then he decides, well, I'll move my second chariot that I've committed to this little escapade. I'll move him onto this hill. And of course the axe that is on here, which is probably a different axe, cannot attack the chariot because it's too slow. And he's thinking, I can destroy Kirkwain as well. And then I kill the chariot with a freshly whipped spearman, and I then kill the scout with the warrior. And I had previously sent him a rather aggressive ceasefire offer in which I get Doppelbock. Actually, is that maybe a peace treaty instead? So I was doing that to tell him I've got military power, and I get my 3 or so axes from around here who are jacking off in the forests back onto the road. This freshly built road was purely to get the axes into the action a bit faster, And then I offer him a peace treaty, and to be honest, the peace treaty is purely intended to screw him over, because I happen to know that I can refound the town, and then the peace treaty actually gives me perfect security to build the town back and build walls. And I counted road distances from my capital and his capital, and this is the dead centre point. So this is kind of in my half a little bit. So I hope that he'll put up with me taking this area, and just to make sure that he's going to go along with the de-escalation that I intend, he's going to, I'm going to put 2 axemen and a spear and walls here, at least. And that should put paid to that. So, it's a bit risky getting attacked by someone. Everyone knows that you're at war. Ginger has open borders and he's moving a chariot down, and it's all, then no wonder, so Ginger's capital is right on this hill here. He could move a galley out of his capital and it would instantly drop troops here. So it would be a very nice part of his empire if he was to get Leptis, or even Utica. Maybe Utica is a bit much, because I would obviously fight like hell for Utica, and realistically for Leptis too. So maybe he's not planning that, but maybe it's just inefficient to launch naval invasions. But 1 chariot in a galley would do for these guys. Especially, imagine if he just has a galley here and I can't even see it, and it's got 2 chariots and totally guaranteed to get the kill on Utica. But Utica's going to pop. It's going to have a cultural pop next turn. And this Axeman is moving back from some rather stupid scouting. I should stop scouting with Axemen. That's really dumb. They're too slow. So it seems like Ginger is not going to attack me, I hope. He was a bit busy attacking someone else earlier. I don't remember who. And I'm gonna scroll up in my chat with Sivak, because I did post a screenshot 10 turns ago in which Gavagai was at war with both Pindicator and Commodore, so that's the Romans. And we also had Magic Science at war with Ginger. And Magic Science is up here, so it was probably a rather unimportant little skirmish, but Magic Science is obviously a very valuable ally for me against Ginger in future. Naufragar and Pindicator are apparently doing really well as well, but they're far away from me, so I kind of support them, because if they start killing anyone, I can get some vulturing action and steal some land off someone else. Commodore, I think we can de-escalate. Gavagai just is going to fall off hard. He's not going to be able to take a walled town using these guys against Axemen. He's only got 3 towns, so it's going to take forever for him to get catapults, I would think. And he probably just wants to spam Praetorians. If I settle this town, and conquer Bulgar, once I get a few catapults, because they've got a crap ton of archers in here, then I would have 10 cities. I wouldn't have been harmed too much in the course of this game, although I've built some stupid roads, and I've had bad economic management, and a while back I allowed a barbarian archer to move on here because I moved an axe over to scout here, before noticing the archer was here and the axe started out here. So very stupid. That cost a lot of food. And I just 2-pop whipped an Axeman in my capital. So yeah, threats. Commodore threat probably over. Gavagai threat probably never going to happen. Threat over the ocean, not for 50 turns. Threat from Ginger, imminent. Threat from Super Death, apart from this galley, which is probably... This galley probably doesn't have a chariot that's going to get a win on my Axeman. Because Super Death got attacked... Yeah, is he attacked in this old screenshot? Okay, so my old screenshot didn't... Oh yeah, I've got a note here. So Super Death was attacked by Magic Science. I think Magic Science even had chariots, so... Super Death definitely took some hurt in this game. He's only on 5 towns, and he's got a much weaker military, so... Probably this doesn't have a chariot, or 2 chariots in it. But you can't take any risks, surely. So, so yeah, what are the serious threats in this game? Also, this is a horrible place to attack through. I'm building a monument, so eventually I'll have vision through to here without even having to post any units around. And there's no roads on these hills, so I don't feel scared about Hadrometum getting taken. It's on a hill as well. It's got, Commodore, like I said, I'm going to put a couple of troops each and some walls in here, so no threats from Commodore. So it really is just Ginger that's a threat, but it takes ages for him to get around here, and he'd have to go through my territory, so he's probably not going to be able to attack here. He wouldn't want to attack here. So really it's only Utica and Leptis that I need to fortify and then consider myself generally safe in the game. And of course the biggest threat to my position is that I only have 19 net income, and I'm totally technologically backward. I have writing. Meanwhile, if you look at the civic screen, or one of these screens, I forget which of these screens even show it, but like, okay, so who is it that's leading? Naufragar? He has serfdom and monarchy, and it's not from the pyramids. So he is incredibly technologically advanced. So I need to keep up with really all of the other players. Not really with him, because I don't have a border with him, but this is pathetic. The good news is I've got a lot of pop growth coming. Hippo is going to grow. This is so stupid. What am I doing? This is so this is garbage. Yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3 pop growths next turn, plus a new town, which will actually make it worse in the short term, and a new settler after this panic whip. So I'm quite optimistic. I do have financial, but I have a grand total of 2 cottages to go with that financial. In fact, I almost have more lighthouses than I have cottages, because I'm working on a 3rd lighthouse. But and I am working on a 3rd cottage. So yeah, kind of pathetic on the GDP. In fact, all of my economic stats are pretty bad. So I'm not even sure why my I guess my score just comes from military, because my military is pretty decent. It's stronger than the 4th position military. Okay, well, that is the end of turn 88. I don't know what else to say. Is there anything else I can cover? Not really. I really love this map from an aesthetic point of view, but is this good design? I don't know. I actually am undecided. Is it like good design to have... Because you could look at this and say, this is a dead zone in the map, which is boring, and the map should just be full of food and resources everywhere, but if everything's full of resources, then everything is a target, and there's like no definition to the map. It's just a huge blob of useful locations. So this is actually... I actually really like this. Certainly on the aesthetic level and immersion, but it might even be good for like gameplay as well, because it just means there is a distinction to be drawn between value and non-value terrain, and then you end up doing things like building a road in this location and just ignoring this place right next to your capital for the first 90 turns. I actually quite like that. I find it much pleasanter than a generic map, I suppose. The jungles are interesting as well. I like it. And there's water. There's a nice balance. I really like this balance of water. That's very good. So, yeah, I don't know much about the world. I have managed to walk around the world somehow, but yeah, my scouting is pretty weird. Anyhow, that is turn 88. See you chaps next time.